makes sense. Very good. So for the people on Facebook, I was invited to join Agile Coach Camp in Barcelona. And so we're doing a Zoom meeting there. And just for fun, I fired up a Facebook Live in case I accidentally say anything useful that we want to keep. So go ahead, guys. What's on your mind?
What's up on our minds? Ooh.
Once upon a mind. No, it wasn't once upon a mind. What is on your minds?
Yeah. I mean, after all the alcohol and drugs we had last night.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that doesn't go out over Facebook Live, isn't it?
Oh shit!
But it's okay. They can't see you. And probably, hey, Georgia, can you type in there? Can you hear anything that these other people are saying, or do you only get my voice? This is kind of weird and fun at the same time. Georgia will answer if he feels like it, or any of you, Jim or anybody. If you tell me if you can hear the other people, I think you can't. But let's keep going. All right, guys. Agile Coach Camp. It's afternoon, so yeah. You recovered from last night, so you should be. Tell me. You know what I would love to know is what you guys have heard or seen already that is interesting to you. Maybe a couple of people say something about what you've heard or seen that is interesting to you.
Where do you think this Agile movement is going? Where do you think this Agile movement is going?
So that's a question you have, and so that's a question I hear from you that like a lot of you guys have is where is this Agile thing going?
And I think we've had a couple of sessions around trying to answer that, or at least kind of one of the most interesting sessions for me was around like how do we measure kind of what impact we've had in an organization, and the idea of what was the website?
Part of Agile.
No.
So what measure? That's interesting. So
much more, for me, I don't see enough. We're not good enough at writing real case studies with scientific data to back them up.
Why Agile works.
Why Agile works.
Yeah. Yeah. Why Agile. So it's also you understood, Alistair, or?
I'm listening. I'm listening intently. Is what I'm doing there.
Right.
I didn't fall asleep. So why Agile works and how do we measure our impact?
Well, and how do we record these? So where are these case studies of the almost 20 years now since the Agile Manifesto was written that prove that this stuff actually works?
Have you been asleep? Have you been asleep for 20 years or what? What do you mean case studies? They're all around you. There's plenty in the literature. And there are companies that are taking over other companies because they're doing it. So I don't know, what level of data you happen to like.
If you've got loads of examples, please share them.
Oh, different people have different interests, and I happen not to have an interest in that direction. So I see these studies go by, and I go, "That's very nice." There is a level 5 CMMI level 5 organization in Denmark called Systematics. They hit level 5 in 2006. They started going Agile in 2008. They got reams of data and they've been publishing it. But I will say that for me, the reason I don't pay attention to that is because I get some leader in some company with some number of teams doing these things, and he says, "I'll never go back." This is not a 5%, 30% difference. When people cross over, they just, no. It's like, why would you, hey, let's do an A/B test. Get half of your company to work the other way and half of the work the new way. They go, no, why? I would just lose half my business. So, for me, that's the thing I listen for. As for science, the science as to why it works, I've published books and books on this stuff. I give lectures on them. Look at any of my lectures on software engineering, the 21st century. Agile is for wimps. Even even in my Heart of Agile lectures, it's full of why this stuff works. So I don't know. Maybe I'm starting off the morning a little too cynical here. I do have my coffee. I am missing the beer. So that's like coffee wakes me up so I can talk, and beer maybe softens my mood a bit. So Agile Coach Camp is full of cynics. That's really interesting. Where it's full means 2 people, by the way. So you know how I count things. Full of cynics means 2.
1, 2.
Yeah. So okay, we've got like a half an hour or some number of minutes. But I asked you what you found surprising, and you told me problems that you have on your mind. Have you found anything interesting or surprising, instructive, illuminating so far at Coach Camp?
Over the past 2 days, was there anything?
Yeah, if it's been more than a half a day, I hope you found something.
Sparks?
I'm brutal like this all the time, by the way. People go, I wasn't expecting the Spanish Inquisition. That happens to me a lot. I have a beer with someone, and the next thing you know, I'm cross-questioning him and grilling him, trying to get certain kinds of information out of him. And the guy says, I thought I was just coming here for a beer. We go, oh, sorry about that. So
It's never just.
yeah. But I'm still waiting for you guys to say anything that you've learned, heard, that was insightful, inspiring, aha, takeaway, anything.
What about the organization design session?
I'm not going to say, I'm a facilitator. We're kind of stupid for me.
Who's that? Is that Mikhail speaking?
No, it's Alan from Denmark.
Hey,
We ran an interesting session.
Alan, even facilitators are spending their time there and could maybe have something interesting that they learn. Otherwise, why bother?
Well, I'm trying to get people to engage. They engage a lot in the session, so that's what I'm trying to say. We haven't fallen asleep yet, right? But it was a lot about how you design based on impact in the market instead of designing based on how you like your organization to look.
Nice.
So we started with customers and creating impact customers. So
Nice.
Which competencies do we need, and build your organization from there. There was a lot of systemic building based on impact.
Wow. That's that's a really tough subject. That's really awesome that you guys are taking that on. I have like literally no idea on the answer to that question. So I think it's fabulous that you're looking at it in that way. So what kind of an impact would you like to have on an organization?
I don't necessarily want a lot of impact on the organization. I'd rather have impact on the clients,
Beautiful.
customers, and the value.
Sweet. Okay. I like that. And so what kind of an impact would you like to have on the customers of the organization? There's 12 people in the room, so it's not him left all alone to answer the question.
I can keep talking to you. It's nice, but we can do that one-on-one. I think that's one.
Well, no, it's a super good question, and you've had sessions on it, and how you're thinking about this is like a new direction that I haven't heard before. So I'm fascinated. This is a two-way conversation, right? I obviously could talk. I give lectures all the time, but if it's a conversation, we should make it a conversation. So if you'll go a bit more, that would be really, really useful.
I was trying to make it not a one-to-one conversation. I was trying to make it a group conversation in the room.
Yeah,
but
but they're letting you start it off. So go ahead, keep going.
Well, but the whole idea is that most organizations I've worked with were trying to work agile or be agile. They do a lot of optimization, but often when I then are
addressed by business people, they go like, well, what's the difference? Because we don't see the difference in our customer satisfaction. We just see a lot of KPIs that you invented yourself, and they look good. That's where it's starting.
Cool.
And then basically think, like, why are we designing for ourselves? Why aren't we just designing for the people that we're trying to build products for? And then use that as a basis for how we organize ourselves, how we collaborate, and how we then end up designing our company so we can be as effective and as impactful as possible. So this is where it comes from. And then a lot of systemic analysis goes into it, a lot of skill matching and compromises based on importance and all that stuff goes in. Sometimes you'll have some of the teams here came up with, they needed 25 different skills in order to build a product for the customer. It's hard to do in a team of 7 people. So maybe you can get to the point where in 80% of the cases you can do it all. Okay, it's better than in 30% of the cases. So let's go for 80. And getting those discussions in. So how do we build teams that can actually have an impact?
Cool. So, because it's a really tough question, and it's a new one for me to even think about. And so, as you know, I'm using the Heart of Agile as a lens through which to look at problems right now. In some sense, I came up with these 4 words, kind of like in a moment about 3.5 years ago or something in early 2015. And at that time it was just a pure speculation. Could these words be useful or interesting? So I spent probably the next 6 months in workshops. And this is a nice thing to do, by the way, just all of these ideas. Okay, I've started a thought and backed up a thought and backed up a thought. Let's see if I can roll forward now. I don't use the word retrospective. I happen to use the word reflection workshop. And the reason I use the word, I try to avoid the word retrospective because it implies looking backwards, and I'm really more interested in looking forwards. So we mine the past to get insights that we take into the future. So I use the word reflection workshop, and in the reflection workshop, a way to think about it is it's a time for the team to get together and put all the ordinary work on the side and work together as a team. Like, what does it mean to be a team and do their stuff? And one of the things you can do inside there is to do a retrospective, standard process retrospective, and say, how was our process working, and how would we like our process to work, and what are the changes we make? And that's a standard sort of a process retrospective. But there are other things you can do inside of the reflection workshop. And I collect these ideas. There's lots of them. So I find that often when I say, here's how I'm thinking about the question, it's a question that really fits for the team to address inside of a team reflection workshop, right? So I've backed up a couple of steps, and I'm going to go forward again because I'm going to tell you this thing, and I'm offering it as a thought, one more thing that you can do in a reflection workshop with the team that will be interesting for the team, right? And for you guys at Coach Camp, okay? So the first 6 months, I would everywhere I was asked to give a talk, and sometimes whether it was 20 people or 100 people in the room, I would put up my 4 words on 4 flip charts because I was just testing whether the 4 words make any sense, have any meaning, if they cover anything. And then what I would do is, and this is the part for the reflection workshop, I would say, brainstorm and list all of the things that you have seen and had on any project at any time that you considered useful to the progress of the team and the project and so on, and just write them all down, 1 per sticky note. Just write them down. So it could be co-location, it could be clear goal, could be fixed requirements, it could be good test environment, it could be, I don't know, that we had lunch together. It could be anything, whatever anybody had to say. And then I asked them just to test, because I was just testing this Heart of Agile 4 words, right? Collaborate, deliver, reflect, improve. Just testing whether it made any sense. So I'd say, well, take your stickies and put them on the 4 posters, right? The collaborate, deliver, reflect, improve. And I have a fifth one over here in case whatever you say doesn't fit in the four, because I was really concerned at the time that I was going forward with 4 words. You know, a year later, somebody would say, "Hey, Alistair, you completely forgot this whole facet that's very important." So I was trying to avoid that. So this is like, it's actually using the heart of Agile inside of the construction of this, because this is a probe. This is a delivery. You deliver it, you probe, you test the world. And for me, the word deliver and the word probe are very, like, they're near synonyms. I only get one word, and I'm still like fighting over, did I choose the right word? But anyway, when you probe the world, what you're trying to do is poke the world and see how it is different than however you thought it would be. So that's what I did with these workshops, and I would look at the items on the 5th flip chart and say, okay, so did I screw up, or do I have to change something? This was kind of before I went way public with the Heart of Agile concept. But so the first aha or takeaway, because I want you guys to practice, you know, really after every session, you should really write down, what was my aha or insight or takeaway from this session. This is another, so the first one is this idea of using this at your next reflection workshop. Just ask people to brainstorm and list all of the things that they've seen, not that they've heard about, but they've seen that they know has been good on their project. So you can do that, the reflection workshop. If you have enough time, you can do what we did when we wrote the Agile Manifesto, and also when we wrote the Declaration of Interdependence. We literally did this when we wrote the Declaration of Interdependence. Everybody wrote down the 3 to 5 things that they would totally be willing to anchor a project on. So you've got a group of people, you're trying to get something done. You only get 3 sentences or 4 sentences or 5 sentences, whatever that is. And that's going to guide you and everybody. So these are ways of getting things out of people's heads. And from that, we then filled up the whiteboard with that. And then we merged them and played with them. And that's how we got to the Declaration of Interdependence, right? Which not many people have read, but it's still interesting. I see somebody with a hand up in the back. Does he want to say something?
Yes.
Can you either come forward so I can hear you, or somebody repeat what he says?
Could you elaborate on the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah, there's the, I think if you go online, it's called pmdoi.org. Project Management Declaration of Interdependence. And what happened was, so we wrote the manifesto in 2003, in 2001. In 2003, some people said, hey, this has got nothing to do with software. Can we do a generic product version of this? And so they had a meeting, and then there was another meeting in 2004, and then 2005. They published this thing, and it's a lovely piece of writing. It's very wordy. The Agile Manifesto was written by programmers, and programmers, you know, are very pithy. They don't like to use a lot of words, and so we had those 4 values, and we got it done inside of about a day and a half. The Project Management Declaration of Interdependence was written by about a dozen product managers and project managers. So it took 2 years to do, and it's so wordy you can't read it. So that's the difference between programmers and project managers. That's me making fun of people like I always do. But if you read it carefully, there's no, so in the Agile Manifesto, we've got, the name is one thing, the values are 4 things, and then there's 12 principles. What we did when we wrote the Project Management Declaration of Interdependence was to try to put everything on one page. And so there are 6 things there, and they are really, really, really good reminders of how to operate, whether you're self-organized or you have a manager or not. We were having some difficulties in one of the board meetings one time, and somebody just put the declaration the 6 elements of the Declaration of Interdependence up on the wall, and we could absolutely diagnose our problem right there. Said, okay, we're failing right on that one right there. So anyway, my point is that this, for a reflection workshop, it's a really good exercise for a group of people to get together and try to dig inside themselves and say, here are the things I think are important, and the 2 ideas you might use in your reflection workshop. One is literally brainstorm and list all of the things that are good that you've seen that you would like to see again. That's one exercise. And then you mess with it and you cut it down and you share it and you work with it. The other is to get everybody on the team, and you might try this, for a session at Coach Camp right there. It's suitable. Everybody gets to write down 3 sentences or 5 sentences, and that's all they get to write down. And then those are the ones they would like to operate on. And then you compare and contrast what people have, right? So then you really see how people are thinking on the inside. So those are some things that I'm going to interrupt on here on FaceTime. A guy called John Tanner, hi John, asked if I could talk a bit about co-location and whether that view has changed. And the short answer, John, is no, it hasn't, although we do more distributed work. But the other thing, John, is I'm actually paying attention to the guys at Agile Coach Camp here in Barcelona that I'm talking to, because they're the people who asked me to do this. So I'm going to pay attention to their questions first. Anyway, I forgot what you said that got me in that direction. Oh, I know what I was going to do. So the thing that, what I was saying is that having done all of that, right? So I'm hoping that anything I said there is useful to you in your reflection workshops, is in your coach camp, because you guys are in coach camp to do a lot of reflecting. So that's super. And I'm trying to just do what they call, thinking out loud, how I think about things and how I operate, and see if any of that's useful to you guys as you go forward. So I'm still in hypothesis mode is the point. So that was 2015. I ran those thingies. It seemed to fit. It seemed to work. So one of the things that's important about the heart of Agile, what I'm trying to do and the people who are joining me are trying to do, we're trying to keep it very open. We're trying to keep it very soft, big tent, very dialogue oriented, very listening oriented. And so I would say some people said, let's see if we can get a group of people and test if they adhere to the heart of Agile. And my view is that we don't like those words. Adhere to the heart of Agile is something you can't say. You could say we want to test if we adhere to Scrum, or something like that. I'm hoping, my wish is for the heart of Agile, that it's a lens for inquiring about things. So we don't adhere to it. We ask whether these 4 words or any of the dots people attach to the words are helpful in us becoming more effective, right? Because there's only 4 words. I don't know, you adhere to that. But I want to be very clear, that's a personality difference that we're striving very hard to keep in place, is this notion of inquiring all the time, right? As opposed to asserting and pushing and adhering and, right, all of that sort of stuff. In the sense of that, everything I do now, that was the long lead up. I went back 3, so I'm going back, 3 again. I still am asking whether these 4 words illustrate something interesting in a situation. That's right. So you're back now on the question, what are the KPIs that we put on orgs? I even wrote it down. What KPIs can we place on the organization's customers to tell if the organization is getting better? That's kind of what I heard you say. I was at some place, I better not name the place, and they were doing a workshop and they had on a flip chart, how can we get company X to be more agile? And what struck me and strikes all of us who wrote the manifesto is the question isn't well formed. We don't care if there's a thing called agile, which has certain rules, and that the organization is more that. That's not interesting. So those are the internal KPIs that you guys mentioned, right? That you object to. So I said, for me, Agile allegedly gets you something good. If you do it well, you get something good. How about we name what is the good thing that we hope we can get, right? And so for each of these 4 words, collaborate, deliver, reflect, improve, I'm asking, what is it, if you did that better, what would you get as a result? And then how about we focus on that and not on whether or not we're doing one of the 4 words. In the word deliver, I happen to push everything about decision making. So in probing the world, you're trying to find out what of your decisions are good or bad, are working or not working. This is the probe part, right? So what we expect from asking about this deliver is, are we finding incorrect decisions sooner? Suboptimal. All decisions are, right, you're trying to validate, invalidate, or improve decisions. And the reason we do early delivery and early, all the lean startup, mock deliveries, fake stuff, all of that, you're trying to catch errors in decision making, or even, let's say, decisions that weren't bad, but you can make them better. You're trying to catch that as early as you can so that you minimize the amount of work you do on a decision that you later are going to have to reverse. You see what I'm saying? And then you get early revenue and early business effect and so on. So now, slowly coming back to your question, what KPIs can we place on the customers? I don't know how we could put KPIs on the customers. Some of the customers are service oriented and some are product oriented. But I would be curious if there's a way to tell that you can make a course correction earlier that then saves you time and money from going down the wrong path. That's a super long answer, but that was when you said about KPIs and organizations. I'm trying to get away from the words like, are we doing agile, and go, so what would a KPI be? I don't know. That you make course corrections earlier? If you could find out that, oops, we blew it here. I'm inventing a retrospective question. They call it, one second. After action review is how the military call it, right? I love this after action review concept. I don't think we do it. I don't know that I've really ever seen it done properly, sort of in the way the military does it. You do an after action review and you're looking for things that you could have done differently, and then you pull the lessons out and you see if you can enhance your training. And I think you could do that after every delivery if you do not continuous deliveries. What decisions did we find late that we wished we could have found early? So that's in business model, product delivery, team selection, team formation, all of the things like that. It would be interesting because CMMI level organizations do that kind of data collection and do an after action review or, post delivery review and just say, in principle, is there a way to have caught that earlier? And what techniques can we use so that we can catch those types of changes earlier? There we go. That's my super long answer to your question. Nobody's going to ask any more questions after that. Like, I don't want another answer like that.
I'll come close. Give you a high five.
And you'll get a high five.
All righty, thank you. Boom.
No, what? Careful. Live long and prosper. One surprise to me is I've actually been dealing with dozens of people telling me that you cannot be good at the whole thing, at both business agility, organizational agility, and technical agility. And I kind of kept hanging on to the technical agility part. And we did a session, Dino ran a session here about technical excellence and how we could help improve that. And there were 12 people out of a group of around 50 that joined that and that were curious about it. And I think that is a huge win in your European community because, let's say, the first 10 years of the whole Agile thing, people kind of completely moved away from technical excellence. But it's really cool if you know, or you think you know what you want to build,
But if you build it the same way as we did 20 years or 30 years ago, you're still building craft. Slightly better focused craft, but it's still craft. It's still not going to survive your typical 6-year cycle of rebuilding every big thing that is out there. That was a surprise to me. I didn't.
You were surprised. You were surprised that attention to technical excellence is is getting a resurgence of interest. Is that? I want to phrase your surprise correctly.
It's back.
It's back.
It
back.
is the first time for me in the Agile Coach Camp Barcelona that there's been so much interest and focus on that, and that was a very warm surprise for me.
So I'll just kind of react. I'll do it like a body reaction to that. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. What's on my mind when I listen is, to me, Agile applies to every initiative, every field, every domain, and that it was an accident of history that it was a bunch of programmers who decoded it at the beginning, right? That's how I happen to think about these things. Some of the people who wrote the manifesto go, no, it's only about software. Shut up, stop talking about other things. And I go, if you can apply it to something else, why wouldn't you? Why do you want to lock it in a box and deny everybody else? So when I listen, I immediately generalize to all industries and all everything. And in my history of talking about these things, I talked about software development or engineering or any of these activities that we're doing. We're in a craft profession. For any craft, for any profession, we're in a craft profession. And the reason I like the word, and you notice I don't say craftsman, but I've been lucky because I talk about craft professions. The implication of being in a craft profession is lifelong learning. And it's a thing that I used to back in the 90s and the early 2000s. I would be meeting programmers who go, yeah, I learned to program, 15, 20 years ago. You don't have to teach me anything, right? You just type, and that's the whole game. And I'm going, no. If you're really in a craft profession, you deepen your mastery of the craft. New materials are showing up. You have to learn the properties of new materials. You have to work on your techniques, kind of forever. So it was like kicking people forward. Now, the reason I say that is because, you talk about technical excellence. I'd like to broaden that to all of the craft elements that go into making up an organization, of which programmers are one. So, I'd like the project managers, the line managers, the sales people, the, whomever, the business people, and of course the programmers, testers, UI designers, everybody to deepen their mastery of their profession. That being super important. Other than that, no, I agree with you. If you let's stay just with software for a moment. If you write crap code, your program can't be changed, and 6 months later, your organization is locked up, is non-agile anymore. It can't respond to market events. So I'm interested that happens at Coach Camp, that you're talking about programming technical excellence. Yeah, and I would just like to broaden it and wondered if there are other places where technical excellence would be really good. But for sure, inside the code, if you do a bad job and then you can't change the code, then you're hosed, right? Then you're locked up. So what I've been battling. I do that a lot. You answer me a question, and I answer 5 other questions along the way to answering the one question. So at the Salt Lake Agile Roundtable, we have a habit that everybody has to say what they learned, an aha or insight that they got out of the session. So I'm going to ask you guys to introspect for a moment. And we've been on the phone for like 40 minutes. So hopefully anything struck you out of the conversation as interesting or useful or surprising. Can I ask you guys to say what you got out of the session?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thanks for your time. for me was quite surprising that you mentioned it, the PM Declaration of Interdependence, because it's not very common. I mean, I've never, I just put it that I've never heard anyone talk about that in all the years that I've been working on Agile. So I knew them because I've studied it, but I've never heard someone mentioning that. And I was quite surprised that you mentioned it. So my insight from here is, oh, what a surprise about this declaration.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to comment. This is for you guys. Just to let me know what you got out of this little session.
Yeah. And interestingly, I looked in Christopher Avery, who did a workshop for us 2 days ago, was also part of that group that created the declaration.
Okay.
Thank you.
I took away the explanation of the word deliver and the word probe. I think probe is way more powerful in what I tend to do. I think I'm going to use that. Because delivery could be very one-directional. And probing requires interaction.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm going to take that one with me.
As an ex-military person, I like to observations around the after-action review and how we can perhaps bring that more into the agile world. I don't think we're as disciplined as we could be as agile coaches. That's an area that I'm trying to focus on at the minute, adding a bit more discipline in that.
One thing I definitely got out of this was the openness in the heart of Agile. That it's not something that's locked down to let's say, a boxed-in thing, but it's an exploration of learning. I definitely got a new flavor to it now than I had before, which means it might be more interesting to actually engage with. So for me, that actually gave a new flavor. So yeah, that was not good.
Thank you. Some silent people. Hopefully you got something out of the session.
Well, to be honest, I've heard Soledad speaking a lot about it, so.
About what?
About the heart of Agile, Soledad.
Okay.
Soledad Pinte.
Oh, Soledad. Yes, Soledad's online on the Facebook. So Soledad, shout out to you.
It's parallel online.
Yeah, there's a Facebook Live going on this side of my screen and a Zoom meetup with the Agile Coaches Camp in Barcelona on this side of my screen. So those of you on Facebook, the reason that I'm, like not talking to you is because I'm talking to them. And Sola says hola. And also, by the way, I'm typing into the Facebook Live the insights that I'm hearing. So the people on Facebook Live who come later can catch up with the some of these thoughts. So thank you for that.
Is there a way of engaging with the heart of Agile, like getting involved if we have input and stuff like that? Because I've facilitated sessions where they've done it. With Jens Østergaard, for instance, but I've never been in the sessions myself. So
yeah,
engaging.
so engage. How can you engage with the heart of Agile? So we just came up with the website, and it was a whole project that took 2 months to come up with an MVP, and that was interesting in its own right. As one of my usual asides. Yeah, it was. So as one of my usual asides to start answering the question, but remind me if I get distracted. The answer is meetups, by the way. But I hate distributed development. I really do. I've tried 3 times to redo the website, with a remote team, and I just refused. So I moved to St. Petersburg, Florida, where I am right now, and I found there's a web design company 3 blocks from my house that had the word Agile on their website, like we do Agile. So I walked down there and walked in the door, and it's a small company, maybe 30 people. The name is Big C, S-E-A, like ocean, Big C. I walked in and said, hey, you know, can I get you guys to do a project? I want to use some of this Agile stuff that you have written up on your website. And, you know, I didn't introduce myself or anything. And the president of the company, his name's Joe, and you know, he says, well, you know, we're not going to do a fixed price contract. I'll give you this fee and this rate. And of course, I said, I don't want a fixed price contract. I want time and materials. We'll just work together. And then the CTO, he went to the CTO, a guy named Zui, and Zui, he said, hey, Zui, there's this guy, he wants to do this Agile stuff. I don't know what he's talking about. Can you go talk to him? And his name's Alistair something. And Zui goes, Alistair Cockburn? And I give Zui full credits for recognizing my name that fast. So Zui came running back and pretended he didn't know me. And he goes, yes, we do some Agile stuff, but you know, if you want to do it, maybe we can work it together and you can help us, you know. And so began 2 months of us, like, I totally flipped their company upside down, as you can well imagine, doing Agile, Alistair style Agile. Like Alistair style Agile is like Bruce Lee doing Jeet Kune Do, right? It's very unexpected. It's very fast. It's fun. It's silly. It's effective. It's irreverent. Doing stuff you've never seen written down, whatever. And half of the company got to work with me. There's a small company, and half didn't, and they all share the same room. And after a while, the people in the other half of the room, the other team, are going, Zui, does Alistair have any other projects? Because we kind of want some of that too, right? Apropos the guy who was asking for data, what you now have is the one team will never go back, and the other team's insanely jealous because they want some of that too, right? So we did that for 2 months, and on Monday, there's actually, and we'll do a Facebook Live of it, I'm sure. On Monday, there's going to be a meetup at the Tampa Bay Agile, and the people from Big C are actually going to give an experience report about that project. So we'll FaceTime, we'll do a Facebook Live of that and make it online, and you can take a look. And then you can see it involves pirate hats and Captain America backpacks and things like that. Anyway, sorry.
I was just going to say, is the Facebook Live on your personal, how do we get hold of the Facebook Live? Is it personal?
Yeah, right now it's on my Facebook. But we sometimes will download it and then re-upload it to YouTube or something like that, because Facebook will save them. So I'm not a big technology person, oddly enough, but my current thinking is I do a Facebook Live. They're very kind. They archive all the footage. Then there's a way to download it and re-upload it to YouTube, so it's available both on my personal site. We'll have a link to it off of the Heart of Agile page on Facebook, and we'll put a link to it on the Heart of Agile website, you know, when we get all these things worked out. So these will be recoverable videos, yeah? Anyway, the point is, when we're doing the website, they ask you a lot of existential questions like, you know, why are you in business and who are you trying to help and what are you really about? And out of that, I realized that I'm offering only 4 words, right? There's only 4 words. And everything I talk about and Sola talk about, oh, one second. Ah! All right, so the Facebook just died.